Hey, here we are, once again. Just getting comfortable. Atop Mount Shasta, yeah. And this is the December tape. And it'll be closing out the Stepping into Consciousness series. It's been a unique year. Got lots of people up here enjoy, having a good time. It is deep snow. Big smiles, big grins, and early skiers. You know, it's a December tape, so it's apropos in this moment. It's Christmas time, and the snow is beautiful. This tape, I also want to thank you, is going to be a tape dealing with thankfulness as one aspect. Appreciation, I think, is the other aspect. They'll probably drift back and forth because the words have somewhat the same meaning in different ways. I also noticed there were a lot of God tapes where it was more of a direction in terms of God and things of that. More of a clarity within the divine and letting up on, that physical plane material. However, we will finish on a major physical plane piece of material, totally dealing with God, my favorite subject. The Stepping into Consciousness series has been unique in the making. It's been a process of me growing and changing and altering, and finding the material that I used and I grew with to be very helpful in that change and growth that I've experienced along with all of you. And because it's never outside of ourselves, we can always go back and look at the tapes and see where we were. And we can semi-remember what we were doing during those times. And so this series of tapes sort of has become an analog of our growth, depending on whenever we set in and started getting these series of tapes. Some from the very beginning. In this time of the new year and getting started and the end of the old, I noticed that myself as an individual, on my own personal private time, that one level, where you're just dealing with private stuff and you're dealing with personal stuff, your personal realities out there in the world. And because basically whatever's out there is within me, because it's never outside of myself, I noticed that within my quiet time, I was taking special time to appreciate all of the things that I have been given in this particular year. Actually, in all of the last 4 years, or God, actually forever, right? Since the beginning of time. But let's just say I was focusing, as a personality, as we all do, on this last year. And not so much the last year, but just the last few. And I began to notice that God is truly playing a much deeper part in all of my levels of physicalness. And I'm excited about that. One of the things that I have noticed, and that is the reason that I keep popping into this, I really want to thank you, God, and I really want to take the moment to appreciate you, God, and what you have totally given me. And I think that each of us can do that. It's sort of like take a good look, not just a just for granted look. What I want you to do is stay in the present moment, and I want you to bring in the last year or so. Let's just say since you've really gotten into the God awareness. Okay? Last few years. And let's really take a look at our physical life. Let's take a look and see what the universe, as ourself, has really given to us. What do we really have to be thankful of? Now, I know as a personality, we all have our ups and our downs, our good days and our bad days. And I know that most of us don't take it personally. And when we do, we're conscious of that, and we're learning it as a lesson, doing and dealing with all of the things that we can deal with. Sometimes as we grow into the divine, we overlook a lot of subtle things that were big things. Back there when we had all of our energy pointed on some particular thing in our life that we thought was a major catastrophe at the moment. And then slowly, you know how all things are, they change and they grow and they alter into something else. And we forget about those things. And because we're working on our divinity, we let go of those physical things so fast and so uniquely that I thought that just for a moment, I wanted to give God thanks by taking time in the present moment and not just flying over all of the for instances, but actually taking a look at how my life has benefited since me and God really got on a more solid foothold. And I think it's all in the appreciation that in our present day as we get rolling along, and hey, I'm here to thank God every morning, every night, every afternoon, and I do, physically, audibly, mentally, emotionally, divinely, all of those ways blended in one and in several different ways. I give as much thanksgiving to God as I possibly can. Physical example, because that seemed like a lot of, but when you're in present time, it doesn't seem like that much. I bless every piece of food that I taste. I bless everything that I drink, eat, smell, taste, smoke. I bless everything that passes through my body as I excrete in all of the different ways. Sweating, I audibly thank God for, passing the sweat, and I audibly thank God and mentally and all those things for passing poisons out, just when I'm normally sweating from exercising. And so I remember thanking God, like, on all of the levels, a lot during the day. But I also noticed that after years or so, you begin to take even that for granted. All the thanking you gods audibly and all that stuff. Because you're so in the present time, you forget to look back. It's not that you forget to look back, you don't look back. Because in the present moment, you can still see all the past, you can see all the future. But there was a part of me somewhere on the physical plane, one of my many multidimensional selves, that was saying, hey, you know what, as we whiz by life, and we smell the flowers, I want you to take a time out and truly thank God by bringing all of those moments that sometimes we pass by too frequently back into the moment. I want you to appreciate what God has truly given you. And this tape is what it's all about. For us to each, after you listen to this tape, check it out. Put it all together. I noticed that on the physical plane, God has shared bunches of people being around me. And I noticed that God has put a lot of these people in a very divine space so that my reflections were joyful and happy. Even while I learned, all of us out there, we have our ups and our downs, and we even have our ups and our downs with, personality quirks with inside of ourselves, with each other's. Because we're all part of the whole. And even as I look back and I see all of those, I see how those things have grown me, God, and I appreciate all of that. I appreciate the abundance that you have put into my life in terms of wonderful people around me. And I want to thank you for allowing me to see that in my life, that all of the people who take the time to get to know me, even if I don't have as much time to get to know everybody out there, people who take the time to get to know me, even if I don't reciprocate sometimes in that way back, get to know themselves more, because it's never outside of themselves. Just like I look to God and I get to know God more. Just like you get to look to God and you get to know God more. The God that you are. As we see how we've influenced ourselves to have good lovingness around us. Now I've noticed that because there are so many of us in this good loving space, we have so many different personalities and insights, and of course we all sometimes disagree with each other and agree with each other. I'm not meaning that. I just mean the lovingness that people around us seem to put out. I want to thank God. I want to thank myself. I want to thank all of you. You especially for putting out love to all of us. Not just to me, but to yourself and to others. Because as we learn these courses, see, I'm the same as you. As we learn these courses, I listen to these words the same as you. I play these tapes over the same as you. I listen to myself the same as you. I do it when Jessica listens to them and things like that. So I get to grow the same as you by listening to these tapes, believe it or not. Because they re-strengthen me, because I'm a normal person just like everybody else. And as a normal person, I really want to appreciate how hard we have worked within ourselves. And I want to take the time to honor ourselves and to honor God. Now, the way we're honoring God is by seeing how God has truly given us a hand. Like, for instance, the things that we've believed in and we've trusted in have, what have they done? Have they panned out for us? Has God truly shown us the light and how to understand that? Have we worked at these different things? Have they grown us? If they have, I want to thank you, God, for turning us on to them. I've noticed that even though on certain levels we all have the ability to say, well, finances could be better, I just want to take the time now and thank you, God, for regardless of what my finances have been, I have felt totally abundant in whatever it is. I have learned to let go of the attachments that used to pull me down into the worry realm. And you know what, God? I want to thank you for showing me how to let go of those things that all of us used to worry about. Because somehow within these tapes, you've expressed to us a sincere understanding of how that's worked. Now, some of the skiers have got early morning skis going and heading on down the mountain. So those are the sort of roars of the trucks as you hear them go by. There'll be a few more early skiers, yeah. And you know what, God? Thanks for the snow so that we can all ski. And thanks for the snow because there's going to be a lot of water out there. During these last few years, the abundance that I have felt within my heart, God, has really helped. I've also noticed that as I've learned to understand the abundance in receiving, that includes finances and the warmth from people and people's love, I want to thank you, God, for letting me see that they were all equal and not putting any judgments that one was more important than another. See, one of the things that I learned over all the years was not to make money any important than anything else. And one of the things that I learned over the years was that regardless what it was that was being reflected back to me, to be truly and perfectly happy and content with that, because that's what we created. And if we can be happy and content within ourselves, it doesn't matter what's happening, because we will be happy and content. And we will begin to receive the understanding how to do that regardless what the outside world is reflecting to us. By learning that little simple truth, and by not making like money or a house or a relationship or a kid or any one particular thing, which is how we focus our attention, not making any one particular thing more important than the other, and finding that they all had the same interests and the same understandings, and that they all basically did work perfectly, and that as God I could really understand all of it and not judge it. And by not judging it, I got a chance to appreciate how many wonderful things God does for us. I noticed that in certain times and places and things when Dennis could not come up with a single answer, the universe always came up with a solution. And it may have come from a friend, another person hanging out, or something deep within inside of us, or something that we felt, or an inspiration that we had when we were meditating, or something that we asked for when we tuned with inside, or something that we audibly said. Something inspired us to get to the next point. And if we weren't struggling, we got to the next point regardless of what. And I just want to take the time to thank you, God, for that, because I can truly appreciate those things now. By taking the time now in my busy schedule to look back at all of the things that you took time for, God, to kind of give me an inspiration when I was out of insight. I want to thank you, God, for doing that for me. See, I can thank the people and I can thank all the things around me, and I do. But I want to thank the universe, or God, or the essence of the wholeness. I want to thank all of it for bringing all of its intricacies together, so that at a given moment in time when I could truly perceive that, the universe served me in a very loving way, whether it was financially or emotionally or mentally. I mean, that's the way I was linearizing it. The universe was just giving us pure love, so that with that love we could roll on to the next space, and whatever it was, it eased up and became more gentle for us again. I don't know if I'm expressing myself properly in this tape, and how I'm wishing to appreciate God. What I'm really trying to do in this tape is talk as if I'm talking to God personally. And as I do that, I'm doing it in such a way to give examples to you as you take the time after this tape is over to reflect perhaps some of the things that I saw within myself as I learned to do this, to understand how to make this all work. I just sort of noticed that on the tape machine, I'm not getting any readout that my voice is being recorded, so I'm going to have to stop for a second, check this over, and look to see if it's still working. So hang on just a second. Yeah, okay, I'm back. It seems to be doing an alright thing, even though the lights are not showing up. Okay. Da-da-da. Okay, so kind of like, that's the way I was explaining it. I'm sort of rambling and talking to God as a personality, same as you guys. And I'm basically just trying to give an example of my appreciation to God for this year. And I wish God to hear me out loud and to hear my heart and to use as a teaching tool, just what I do as a personality inside of myself. And because this is on tape, God gets to hear this tape bunches and bunches of times as a testimony from me, his loving child, who loves God without question beyond my understanding of what my capacities really are. I love you, God, more than that. As I look to you, God, through this year, I see the subtle ways that when I went to lose my center, you produced a calm inside of myself. And at the time, as a personality, I thought I was in there struggling, trying to control myself, and thought it was a fake calm. But as I look back, God, I can tell that there was that feeling of you in there supporting me. I could almost hear the laughter in the background, just saying like, hey, look at that. You're maintaining perfect calm in spite of everything that's going on. And you're not even in a single judgment in spite of everything that's going on. And look at the energies as they roll in on you. I remember doing that, God, and then I'd flash on to the next thing, because as a consciousness, we're learning so much, and I never, reflect. And at the end of this year, thanks for allowing me to appreciate you, and especially within this last month that you've been sharing those little subtle times with me in my consciousness when there was something deep in my soul that cried out to you and said, hey, I really appreciate that, God, even though my personality thinks that just this one level of me might have overlooked it with you. I want you to know that I could feel you there with me, expressing the calm with me. And you know what, God? In those moments that we share when just we as that whole know that we have accelerated past anything that is even the utmost resemblance of time and space, and we've touched where essence goes beyond. Thank you for holding me in that time and that space as the true parent cradles the child, and as that child, when we just drift off into our parents', restful arms, and we were that baby, and I could remember that peace and that true unconditional love. I could sense all of that as if being in the giant arms of the universe, God, and because in that space, who knows what the physical plane is doing. I just want to thank you for sharing with me that essence that we seek, that's still within the quiet that goes beyond mind and the perceptions of time. Thank you for letting me remember that on the physical plane and the mental plane and the emotional plane. Thank you for reaching into my heart and my soul and my will so deeply that you could affect me and my whole being and all my realities in such a way that my drive would seek you out, and that I could share that drive with whatever chose to hear it. That touch of life that you place within us to encourage us to not be blinded by the things that we believe to be real, and to go deeper. I want to thank you, God, for all of the writings and the beings and the people and the love and the masters who have laid out these words as time has rolled by, and held them there for us to see and to be inspired by these things and to seek you out, which in turn was to seek out myself, which in turn was to force me to understand more about myself, more about this thing I call human, to seek out this thing that I were to call consciousness, to go beyond even when the physical plane said, hey, none of this stuff is real, you can't possibly believe this. All these guys were fakes. Somehow way inside there, God, you have allowed me to learn, and I am beyond honored. And in this appreciation, it even seems faint just to thank you for this last year, but somehow I want to touch you on every level that you touch me on, physical, mental. This tape is just me sharing with you, Father, from way inside where you have inspired me to share, to grow, to be. You are the light that grows within me, and I appreciate that. And I truly forget that, God, as I'm looking at all the linear planes and thinking how intelligent I am, as I go through all the different things that I go through, to encourage the self to keep working and to stay with it, and to not pay attention to what others say or do or think or put out. And that all that there is just you, Father, and to work in that attitude and that consciousness, and just to believe that everything out there truly is perfect, and to see the beauty and understand how it all works. It was all worth it, Father, and I want to truly thank you for showing it to me. Just to sit here and share that essence in an audible voice, and to still be able to know how deeply that has touched me, is is beyond words itself, and yet I have the words to share. We all do. We can all just sit and close our eyes and take this time, or take that time. Because we are really all one, God, and you are really everywhere at any moment we choose to share with you. The abundance that you have chosen to give me, and the understanding of the depth of my oneness. There is nothing on this plane, or any of these planes, that could possibly give me that depth, God, that you have shared with me. And I want to take the time to audibly thank you, and know that you can hear that wherever. I don't have to sit on the top of this mountain and yell it with the highest voice and the loudest voice. I don't have to clang the bells that carry the vibrations through all the dimensions. I don't have to burn the incense, and I don't have to meditate. To go within and to touch and to know that you are within there, beyond anything I can do, is truly why we seek you, Father. To have that knowingness, or taste, or at one-ment. Thank you, God, for whatever. My mind wants to thank you physically, but the depth of my being wants to thank you for all things. And you have given me so much that as I speak these words, you can see the thousands of thoughts all producing that thank you. As my words come out as one dimension, and my mind races through zillions of experiences that you have shared with me throughout this last year. And as all of you touch that beingness with God, you will see that within yourself also. That the thoughts are too almost numerous to mention, but you can mention them all as you sit there in the moment. And that the universe can share with you deeply. The end of this tape is coming up, so I have to get on over to the other side, and I'll see you there. Thank you.